Let's take a look at MSTY and where it moved today and where the price ended up. And also keep in mind that since distribution announcement is next week, this week is the last week for the Yield Max fund managers to help increase that distribution. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So today, MSTY ended up pretty flat for the day. It still has a distribution rate on the website here of 92.68%. But overall today, it ended up pretty flat. So let's just go ahead and check out the Webull chart. Alright, so here we are on MSTY, and this is using the Webull chart. And as you can see today, it ended up closing at $20.57. So just down ever so slightly by 7 cents from Friday's close. But it is a green candle because it opened lower than it closed. It actually opened today at $20.34 before closing at $20.57. So that's why you'll see it does have a green volume candle here, even though we have a red 7 cents loss for the day. But let's just go ahead and switch it over to adjusted chart, and let's just check out to see where it sets on our indicators. So I'm gonna flip this to adjusted, and there we go. So as you can see, we are pretty much right there at the midpoint of that Bollinger Band. That MACD is still moving down. It did not break that signal line. It bounced, got rejected, and then it's coming down a little bit. We are on the bottom half of that Bollinger Band, even though it is pretty close to that midpoint. And the RSI2 sitting at 21.75. Let's just take a look at MSTR, and let's just see what it looks like. And we can see MSTR actually looks like it came down and touched the bottom of that Bollinger Band as it got as low as 358.80 before closing at 367.18 for a $2.52 loss for the day. But since it did open at 362.48 and then closed at 367.18, that's why you're seeing a green candle as well here, because the open was lower than the close. That's what gave it the green volume. It too is not wanting to cross over that signal line. It is staying on that bottom side of that signal line, and the RSI 14 is sitting at 44. So honestly, MSTR is just not moving much. As you can see here in the last month, it has just been pretty stagnant. Not a whole lot of movement. Now, with not a whole lot of movement on MSTR, that will possibly affect our MSTY distributions. Now, like I said, we've got the rest of this week, and then that will all be used to help calculate what that distribution will be for the next week. That announcement will come out a week from Wednesday, and that will be on July 2nd. That will be when they announce their distributions. But I'll go ahead and say that this is pretty flat. Not a whole lot of movement here. So I'm a little concerned that this distribution might be one of our lowest ones. But we shall see. We still have the rest of this week. Now I don't have anything really to go off of that except just a fill here. Now I did box out the areas here for the distributions, just to show you how the candles have been moving. So let me turn those on. All right, there you go. Now, as you can see, like I said, we have not finished out this week, but the end of this week will be the last trades that will be used when they calculate their distributions for all the shareholders for the next week. But as you can see, I've got it boxed in here, and this will be for this distribution here. And as you can see, it's just pretty flat, right? There's just not a whole lot of movement. Now, what that's good for is the fact that MSTY does sell calls against MSTR. And if it's flat like this, chances are they probably won a lot of their calls that they sold. But what's not so good is they probably didn't make much on the synthetic side, as that is a way that they can capture some of that upward movement. But with this flatness here, I am a little concerned that this might be a pretty low distribution. Now, the one before, this one here, this area here was the one that we earned $1.47 on. And this was our last or previous distribution. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of movement here, right? That adds some volatility. You've got that wide Bollinger Band, right? And you can see over here where we're at now, we're narrowing up here. So the volatility is dropping, as you can see, because that Bollinger Band's getting tighter and tighter. Now, that could mean that it's getting ready to pop, but of course that doesn't help us with MSTY, as we don't really want Mr. to pop too much because we cannot capture all of that upside if it does jump too much too fast. But this area here, like I said, this was the one we earned $1.47 on. And you can just kind of see the candles are just all over the place a little bit more volatility, a wider spread here. And the same goes for this area. We had a nice run up here. And this is the area that we earned the $2.37 from. And as you can see, we went from around $2.35 all the way up to, say, about $3.81. Huge run up, right, during this time period. And that's where we earned that $2.37 distribution from. And this one here is the one we earned about $1.33 for. Again, some nice volatility moving around, and $1.33 is a nice distribution. The 237, nice move up, and we were able to capture some of that. This one here, a little bit of volatility, but it is starting to tighten up some. But we're still able to pull out $1.47. But this one here is done nothing but getting tighter and tighter because there's not so much movement. And if there's not much movement, then the Bollinger Band will start moving toward those candles. Like I said, those candles want to move toward the midpoint, or else the midpoint will move toward the candles. It is a magnet. It just depends on which is stronger. And right now, those candles are just hovering right in this area. Now you can visually see there's just not a whole lot of movement. Therefore, that Bollinger Band is just tightening on up. And like I said, that could mean that this could pop on the upside, or it could drop to the downside. It can go either way. This is just my opinion and what I am seeing on the chart. But this lack of movement is where I'm a little concerned with our distributions. Now, like I said, I am not using any kind of numbers. I am not looking at the actual calls that were sold or anything like that. I am only looking visually at the candle movements and the Bollinger Band. None of this may hold water, but to me, it just looks a little concerning because we've got movement throughout all of these areas, but this distribution area here that we are in, just no movement at all. So this could be one of our lowest distributions yet, but that's okay. Not all of them can be bangers, right? It is what it is. We'll power through it and we'll look for a brighter tomorrow. But I'm not going to give up on it quite yet, as we still have 4 more days. But I just don't think that I would be looking for $1 and something on a distribution for this pay period, assuming that we earn a distribution, because as the site does state, we are not guaranteed a distribution. I don't think we're not going to get one, but that's just my opinion. But I do think it's going to be pretty low. It's not what anybody wants to hear. Definitely not what I want to hear. But I just wanted to go ahead and prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But one thing I did do on MSTR today was it was down, like I said, at the bottom of that Bollinger Band. And if you can see this yellow line down here at the bottom of the chart, that's the RSI2. It is setting at 8.45, and that's with the price at 367.18 close. The bottom of that Bollinger Band went as low as 359.26. So about mid-morning, I put a order, and that's a limit buy order, to buy 2 shares of MSTR. and I'm going to flip it over to the 5-minute chart just so we can get a better view of the movement for today on MSTR. And as you can see, there it is. There's that 370.28 is the high for the day, and 358.80 actually was the low for the day. And like I said, about mid-morning right in here, I put an order in for 2 shares of MSTR at 360 because I saw that it dropped down as low as that 358.80, and it was kind of coming down, but I didn't know if it was going to get there. Well, the low for this point right here is 362, 362.80. So it only got down to about 362.80 before it started moving back up. So I just figured, well, I probably missed it, right? Because my limit order was at 360. And that means that if that price drops down to $360 per share, go ahead and purchase me 2 shares of that, right? So I put that in around at this time here. It did not make it. It started moving back up, but that's okay because I wasn't even watching it. And that's the thing, when you put a limit order in, you don't have to watch it. You put it in, and if it hits it, it hits it. If it don't, it just expires, right? It cancels. But at around midday, it ended up dropping as low as 359 even right here. That was enough to execute my order at that 360. So that did purchase me 2 shares at 360 bucks. I mean, just pure luck there, right? That it actually came down, picked me up, and then took off. I was quite excited about that. I have been buying a few shares. I don't have many, but I have been buying a few shares of MSTR, and I'm using MSTR to try to capture some of that upside or price appreciation if it would happen to pop. Because we know that if MSTR, and that's what we're looking at, if MSTR does pop and goes up, we know that MSTY is capped on the upside. So therefore, it cannot capture all of that movement up, especially if it moves up quickly. We really need it to move up, and that's on MSTR, but we need it to move up a little slower. Something like this, right? That would be great. A big pop. In this case, that was a big drop, right? But if that was a green candle and it popped up that high, MSTY could not capture all of that movement up. In that case, your better bet would be to own MSTR. So that's the reason I have some MSTR and I have some MSTY. MSTY is my long-term income play because I'm hoping to be able to earn those distributions for a long time. But MSTR, I don't mind owning just in case Bitcoin happens to take off and MSTR takes off, and I can capture some of that upside. So I'm playing both sides of the coin, and nothing wrong with that. I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button and smash the like button. It'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.